We've suffered so many great losses, from Mother Teresa to recently Paul Rubens, and of course, iiRACADE. I am Dr. Mike. This is Bog Panda, and joining me, as always,
Hi, everybody. This is Kelly at KELLYTHUL on Instagram, Threads, and the app formerly known as Twitter. And we'd really appreciate it if you get a chance to check out the Bog Panda YouTube channel and give it a like, subscribe, peruse that a little bit. You're going to find a cute little podcast. It's the world's smallest podcast. It's called Hard No. Check that out. And after you're done enjoying that, go out and hit our merch store where the Don't Look at the Monster shirt is now available.
nice.
So good news on there. And
Is there a Beat 'em and Eat 'em shirt on there?
uh, there's not, there never will be ever.
Yet.
And you went one show without bringing that up, but I actually did. So I think so. Anyway, just you threw me. So I'm back. So tell me more about this great loss, Mike.
So first, I wouldn't say it's the world's smallest podcast. That sounds demeaning. It's the shortest, though.
Yeah.
And like I said, we've lost a lot of really good people. Speaking of which, just to get off track for a second, when Paul Rubens passed away recently, I posted a photo of his infamous mugshot. I'm going to be honest with you. The reason I posted that wasn't to draw attention to that. He just looks really cool in his mugshot. And I know you're not supposed to say stuff like that, but he looks great. Like, we've all seen these awful celebrity mugshots. Paul Rubens looks badass in his mugshot. If I was him, that would be like my ID photo. That would be my headshot moving forward on absolutely everything. It's the coolest he's ever looked. And I'm a fan of his work, but he just looks really cool in that picture.
Yeah, so Nick Nolte, Gary Busey, they don't pull off good mugshots at all.
No.
but he did. I'd have to agree because it looks kind of a little badass. Pretty good photo.
Yeah, and I tried to picture what Mother Teresa's public masturbation mugshot would look like. Um, if anybody is listening to this, go put that into an AI generator right now, and we'll see what that looks like. But we suffered another great loss recently, which was iiRACADE. We talk a lot about home arcades on here. We mainly focus on AtGames and Arcade1Up, who are obviously, not to put any other companies down, but are the leaders kind of in that space. But there is a lot of other options out there for people. And iiRACADE is something we've talked about a few times on here. Nothing that I really wanted to pull the trigger on. And I think Kelly's kind of in the same place. Like, I think we're happy with the directions that we went, but it's still cool. And it, for me, didn't hold a lot of interest because it did focus on essentially what it was giving you an arcade cabinet to play more modern stuff. And there was classic games on there, and they had a game store where you could purchase classic games, but they also put a focus on more modern gaming. So the interest level for me wasn't that high. I did notice recently some blowout prices on their cabinets were popping up places, and I was definitely tempted, but seeing all of these cabinets marked down significantly from what they typically are wasn't a good sign, I could tell. So, and since the way you add games is purchase them through their store, I don't want to get into the difficulties of modifying the cabinet and all that kind of stuff. I like that the cabinets I get, I just kind of put them up, leave them stock the way that they are. So getting into all of that doesn't really interest me. So if this store was going to shut down, I didn't want to buy into it. And that is what's happened. They announced that they were going out of business. They initially announced that they didn't know how long the store was going to remain up for, and then it closed down. So what are your thoughts on this, sir? Do you think us as Arcade1Up and AtGames owners are going to face this sometime soon?
Well, I mean, you never know because there's this combination of one, you got to have somebody running a business that knows how to run a business. And I'm not suggesting the iiRACADE folks didn't, but I mean, that's a big factor is it's hard in any venture to stay successful and be proper, particularly when you're dealing with things that probably have a pretty narrow profit margin, because it's not an easy thing to get the licensing nailed down and everything there. So you got to have someone who's got the business savvy, and then you've got to break into a marketplace that's tough to do that with an AtGames and Arcade One Up already in place. So so it's hard to tell. I mean, yeah, AtGames it seemed. I don't know. I see occasionally little signs from both Arcade One Up and AtGames that make me go, I wonder if the wheels are going to come off on this at some point in time or not. So I think we could face it. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. I wouldn't be shocked to do it. It seemed like AtGames for a while it really kind of with the Legends came out, Legends Pinball came out. It seemed like some momentum was going. Then it just has seemed to kind of cool a little bit to me. They're still, they've been doing some creative things and increasing some stuff to 4K and things like that. But you see that, and then on the Arcade One Up, and be interested in your kind of point of view on that. I'm seeing more and more some people carping about they're not really happy about the cabinets keep getting more and more expensive and less quality built in some people's opinions. So that's kind of where I'm at. How about you?
Kind of the same thing. So I have an AtGames Legends as well. It does seem like, some of their big rollouts don't have quite as much stuff as they used to. So I can see that kind of cooling a little. I don't think it's anything crazy where they're going to go out of business, abruptly the way that iArcade did. And as far as Arcade One Up, which is 3 of the 4 cabinets that I currently have, to me, the biggest part of the problem, the price increase is a big deal. One of the things with Arcade One Up was their, standard cabinets, not the bigger special ones and stuff like that. Their standard cabinets were coming in that $300 to $400 range. They're more in the $600 to $700 range now, and they're the same quality cabinets. It's not really anything new that's coming. There are the bigger special edition cabinets, but some of those are really getting up there in price. And it's not that they're not better necessarily, but the improvements don't justify that price tag. And especially when a lot of times it's just alternate or special editions of cabinets they've already released. And I think that's the problem that Arcade One Up is facing right now, more so than any of the other still existing cabinet home arcade manufacturers, is they're really just kind of rehashing stuff now. You're not seeing a lot of new content. The CasinoCade is finally coming out after being announced a year ago at this point. That's finally coming out now, so that's interesting and something new, but it doesn't feel as new already because it was so long ago that it was announced at this point. So I feel like they're having an issue with just keeping it fresh.
Yeah, and then we had to deal with the supply chain getting all jacked up for a couple years, and some things going in, and some parts that would need to come typically from countries you weren't able to get parts from for a while, and there was just a lot of customer service horror stories, and that's been the other little tickler that's out there on AtGames that concerns me is some folks kind of telling their tale of woe of very slow to get things, even to get responses back in that. So as we've shared kind of on a past show, I've really only had one major customer service experience with AtGames. That was a couple years ago. And I really couldn't have been treated better. It worked out just great. And got everything turned around nice and snappy, and they were responsive, and I needed a part. I was still under warranty, barely, but I was still under warranty. And got that part in, and so it worked out okay.
I had a customer service issue with each of them, with AtGames and with Arcade One Up. Took equally long to get resolved with both of them. And by equally long, I don't mean a couple of days. I mean a long time with both of them. Poor customer service across the board, in my opinion. The one thing I will say, Arcade One Up was slightly better in the fact that at least when I would send an email, they would at least respond and let me know they received the email and they were still working on it. Whereas with AtGames, I never ever got a response to my emails from them. They eventually just sent me another one of the product that I had ordered because this was for the core. I didn't receive it initially, so they just sent out another one after I sent multiple emails, but never responded to any of my emails.
Yeah, and so it's nice to have competitors in the space to try and keep people honest on this. So kind of miss iiRACADE from that. There were lots of things about their build and structure that were pretty impressive. I think there was some good quality there. They did seem that they were kind of doubling down on the we are a planet of 100% licensed software and a kind of a very closed ecosystem to it more difficult to kind of move forward to add ROMs of unknown origin to to the system. That probably didn't help them. The fact that this show primarily talked about AtGames and Arcade One Up and not them, clearly, not helpful.
They didn't get that Bog Panda bump,
Nope.
and you really need that in the space.
So in a way, I feel a little guilty. I think this might be on us. So
sorry, guys. And by guys, I don't mean iiRACADE. Obviously, they should have given us free units. Maybe this wouldn't have happened to them. I'm sorry for the iiRACADE owners who, we couldn't come to your rescue because they didn't play ball with us, but that's what happens.
Yep. So it would, and it'd be kind of sucky if you were a recent purchaser of iiRACADE, because now you're guaranteed not to get good customer service because it ain't going to be there. So you got to cross your fingers and hope that everything hangs together, which usually it does for these systems. But when you have a problem, it's usually a problem that disables the machine one way or another. It's like this controller doesn't work or the monitor is black all the time. But we'll see how that. Yeah, so it is tough for the owners of that, particularly from a customer service perspective. We'll just have to kind of continue to see if what AtGames and Arcade One Up have in store and go from there.
Well, thanks for listening, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Bog Panda.